Well, it's my great pleasure to invite to the stage Prime Minister from the UK, David Cameron, and my husband, Bill Gates. So it was just last year that Bill and I were here at the WEF talking about this decade of vaccines and our vision for what the next 10 years could hold in terms of promise for vaccines. And what I'd like to tell you, and to think about, every child getting the right vaccination and new vaccines being created for the developing world. And what I'd like to talk about for just a minute today is the remarkable progress that's been made even in just 1 year. So to give you a couple of specific examples, in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, a brand new vaccine came out this year for meningitis A and was delivered just since this fall to 19.5 million people that live in that meningitis belt. That's one thing that's happened. A second thing that's happened is we are finally, as a world, delivering a pneumococcus vaccine with the specific strains for Africa. It's taken us some time to get this vaccine created, but once we got it in the developed world, it's taken us only 1 to 2 years to get it out to the developing world. And 1.6 million children are afflicted with pneumonia and die of it every year. And this vaccine will take us a long way in reducing those childhood deaths. So in fact, just before I came to WEF, I was in Kenya and Ghana, and specifically to see the rollout of this vaccine. And it's really something to see a brand new vaccine coming out in an African nation. And it'll now come out this year in a whole host of African nations. And the third thing I'll say is the amazing progress we have made on polio this year. There are 4 countries where polio is still endemic, and 2 of those countries, India and Nigeria, have made tremendous progress this year. They've brought their polio cases down by over 90%. So Bill and I are so excited to see the remarkable progress that's happened just in 1 year, and we're incredibly excited about the next 9 years. And so with that, I'll invite Bill up to talk a little bit more about polio.
Well, thank you. The Gates Foundation does a lot of things in global health, but the thing that's become our top priority because of the incredible opportunity and the need to act now is this polio eradication. Of course, in a lot of countries, you haven't seen polio for a long time, but in 1988, when the eradication campaign started, there were over 300,000 cases a year. Now, at that time, they thought they could get it done in 12 years, and they did a great job. This is a campaign that is spearheaded by the World Health Organization, and Margaret Chan and her team have done a fantastic job. There are key partners, UNICEF, and an amazing partnership with Rotary International. Rotary not only has raised a lot of money for this campaign, but the Rotary members all over the world speak out, volunteer, and have made a huge difference. And so where are we? We're down to having 1% as many cases as we had when we started. So only a few thousand a year. The 4 countries that have never interrupted it are Nigeria, India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. And as Melinda said, 2010 was a great year in India and Nigeria, over an 80% reduction in those countries. Now, as long as it's in those 4 countries, it'll spread out to different places, so you get outbreaks. We had one in Tajikistan in the first half of the year. We have one in Congo that started in the second half of the year. And so we need to take these next few years and intensify the campaign. It's an expensive campaign. It costs almost $1 billion a year to buy the drops, to get the vaccinators out there. You have to find all the children. If you don't find more than 10% of the children, then you do not interrupt the transmission. We had a change in the vaccine to make it more targeted to the varieties of polio that are in specific places, and that's one of the reasons why 2010 was such a successful year. There'll be plenty of challenges. There'll be setbacks in this thing as we go forward, find cases, but the team working on this is very smart. The way they tune the budget on this thing is very impressive. And certainly I'm going to do everything I can, visiting Nigeria, going to India, pushing this thing forward, because we are really proud to be a partner in this effort. In order to make sure that there's financial strength for this, we're going to have to turn to the people who have been given and ask them to step up. We're going to have to get some new donors. I was in Abu Dhabi on Wednesday. That was a great thing because the Crown Prince there stepped up with $50 million, a third of it for the polio campaign and two-thirds for overall vaccination campaigns. And so it's wonderful to see somebody who's not been involved in this saying, yes, I want to come in these last few years and help out, get this thing across the finish line. The last time a disease was eradicated it was the only time, was back in 1979 when smallpox was eradicated. And what happened right after that was that UNICEF and the rest of the world took on a goal of increasing the impact of vaccines. And so under Jim Grant's leadership from 1980 to 1995, they got vaccines out to a lot of kids. I think the same analogy applies here. It's a tough economic decade, just like the 80s, but when we get this done, it will energize things. So we have all the benefits. We have the benefits of no kid dying or having being paralyzed. We've got the benefits of getting rid of the special costs we're undergoing now, and we have the energy. We will energize the global health system as we show that even something very hard like this can absolutely get done. I mentioned these are tough times in terms of budgets, and people will look at aid budgets as part of their review process. And that's why we need to do a good job explaining incredible things that this money can do. A country that's really set a leadership example, and someone who I think personally deserves our praise for his personal role, is the UK and Prime Minister David Cameron. It's really something, and so I'm very pleased to have him here. Oh, I should mention that our foundation is adding $100 million today to the polio campaign, and that's to help close the gap. So let me bring the Prime Minister up to share his thoughts.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you for that. And let me start by paying a huge tribute to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, to Rotary International, and to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the incredible work that you've done in the fight against polio and other preventable diseases. I don't want to take up a huge amount of your time today. I just want to try and answer, I think, the absolutely key questions about this. The first is, why is it we should spend aid money really going after preventable diseases? Secondly, why eradication? And third, important for the politicians here, how do we take our countries and our publics with us as we do this absolutely vital work? Why disease, and why do I think what the Gates Foundation and what Gavi and the Global Fund and others are doing is so worthwhile? Well, you can have all the debates in the world about whether development happens best if you have a green revolution first, or whether aid is the key, or whether trade is the key. You don't have any development if people are dying of preventable diseases. So I think it absolutely has to be the first line in all our development policies, and I think the impetus that it's now being given is completely right. Diseases don't just kill people, they deny countries of productive labour. It also isolates countries and makes further development impossible. Why eradication? Why, when we've got so far, is it right to put the extra money in to finish the job? Well, I think the words are there. It's about finishing the job. If you don't do it, there is always the chance it will rise again, it will spread to other countries. And we know we can do it. We did it with smallpox, it can be done. We know we can do it with polio, and I think Bill has very clearly set out the way ahead. And so I think we need to go this extra mile, put that extra money in, and make sure that it can be done. How do we take people with us as we do this? Well, as I've explained, I think actually disease eradication, vaccination is one of the easiest things to sell to a sceptical public, because you know how much a vaccine costs, you know how many people you can vaccinate, you know how many lives that you can save. And I think it's an incredibly clear argument, because people worry about their tax pounds or their tax dollars going in aid. They worry about corruption, they worry about dictators, and they're quite right to worry about that. But with vaccination, you can count the pounds and the pennies, the dollars and the cents, and you can count the vaccinations that take place. And what Britain is going to do is to double our commitment to the Polio Eradication Initiative from $30 million to $60 million. We're placing this will enable us to vaccinate an extra 45 million children, but we're placing two conditions on it, and I think these are important. First is, it is vital, if we're going to eradicate polio, that we make sure vaccination becomes routine in the countries where it has been endemic. And I think it's very important we insist on good policy to follow the good money. The second point is this. The second condition, rather, is this, that we are putting in this money on the basis that each pound that goes in leverages in £5 from other donors. And I make this condition for a very good reason. We have made a difficult decision in the United Kingdom. You might have heard me this morning talking about difficult budget cuts, difficult decisions we have to make to get on top of our deficit. Yet while doing this, we are one country, and sadly one of the only countries, that are committed to meeting the 0.7% target of gross national income by 2013. I think it is right, even in difficult times, that we don't break our promises to the poorest people on our planet. And I would also argue there is a strong element of self-interest in this. If we give up on the aid and the trade and the development agenda, we will find the problems in those countries visited on our own doorstep. And so I hope that other leaders will be able to make this commitment, and by asking that the money we are putting into polio eradication levers in money from other organisations and other countries, I hope will make this happen. In fact, I did a little bit of research today, and I worked out that if the other leading European countries met the pledge that we've all made of 0.7% of our gross national income by the end of 2013, all 69 million children who are currently out of school could be in school. 350 million people that don't have access to clean water could have access to clean water, and we would have another 120,000 women every day who would not die, every year, who would not die in childbirth. Those are the levels of achievement we could make if we all keep our promises to the poorest in our world. Yes, it is a difficult time to do it, but actually there is never the wrong time to do the right thing. Thank you very much.